प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ना भैया आ रहे हैं
So did you want to learn from this one now?
Yes, I forgot to bring it.
What problem is that? Look at what? No, this book. The fourth dimension.
I forgot to bring it. I'm so sorry. Okay, we can read from it. That's right.
17. So Venkat Prabhu told me he will drop, so that's why I didn't come.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay, where is it? Okay, so, Hare Krishna, Arush. We're talking about peace of mind. And let's look at the second chapter, 66th verse. Nasti buddhir yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavana taksantir santosya prasukam.
Which verse?
266.
66.
Second chapter, 66.
Yes.
Na asti buddhir ayuktasya.
No.
Nacha yuktasya bhavana.
न चयुक्तस्य भावना
Nacha bhavyatak santir.
न चाभावत शांतिर
Asantasya kitasukam.
अतन् सत्य पिता सुखम.
So this is a very nice verse. It says, one who is not connected with the Supreme Meaning Krishna, in Krishna consciousness, can have neither transcendental intelligence or steady mind, without which there's no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? So here we have a progression. It says that, but it's a negative progression. If you don't have a connection to Krishna, you can't have transcendental knowledge or transcendental intelligence and a steady mind, without which you cannot have any peace, and it's not possible to have any happiness without peace. So, we see the value of transcendental intelligence. Transcendental intelligence means you can make decisions by which you will always remain in Krishna consciousness. That's transcendental intelligence. You make decisions in life. You know, like what house to buy, what food to buy, what car to buy, all these decisions based on helping you remain in Krishna consciousness. That's transcendental intelligence. And you need a steady mind. In other words, your mind should not be disturbed unnecessarily. Because if it's disturbed, or what disturbs the mind is dualities disturb the mind. Should I do this or should I do that? When you make your mind up to be Krishna conscious, then you're no longer confused by dualities. You will always choose with your transcendental intelligence to do that thing that keeps you in Krishna consciousness. When you don't have that as the goal of life, then you say, oh man, should I go to this college or that college? Should I do this or should I do that? Should I live in India or should I live in America? Should I, you're always faced with these dualities. Should I work in this company or should I work in that company? But if your goal is to be Krishna conscious, then you say, well, I could make more money working in Kalamazoo, Missouri. But by continuing to work where I am in Seattle, I have access to the temple. There's no temple in Kalamazoo. Right?
Yep.
Therefore, I stay here. You see? Because you made that decision to always remain in Krishna consciousness. So, therefore, you're not confused, should I work in this place or that place? You work in that place where it's easier to be Krishna conscious. And where Krishna consciousness is more readily available. Okay, so we can read the purport to 266. Go ahead. Huh? Yep.
Unless one is Krishna conscious, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 5.29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all good results of sacrifice and
Penance.
that he is
Proprietor.
proprietor of all universal
Manifestations.
and that he is the real friend for all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness,
Krishna consciousness,
there cannot be a final goal for the mind.
see, that's the point. You have to have a final goal for the mind. And that final goal should be to always remain in Krishna consciousness, with Krishna, his devotees, deities, temple, prasadam, Bhagavad Gita, etc. Then you can have peace. You can have real peace.
Prabhuji, it says, here it says, when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, like something good happens in our life, that's what is when we have to understand that it's like
No,
Krishna.
no, what he's saying is, when you, let's say, you buy very ripe, nice mangoes, but you offer them to Krishna. So that is what you would call a good result of sacrifice and penance. The result is you made Krishna happy by offering such nice mangoes with sweet words, with sincere words. And therefore, Krishna is happy because you recognize that he's the only enjoyer. See, he's the real enjoyer of a good mango. He's the real enjoyer of very nice prasadam. He's the real enjoyer of very nice kirtan. He's the real enjoyer of very nice, class. He's the real enjoyer of very nice festival for Krishna, like Rasa Yatra or whatever. So then, you don't think that, look, I have to be the enjoyer. that you're perfectly satisfied that Krishna is an enjoyer, and you engaged in sacrifice and penance in order for Krishna to get a very nice offering, very nice flower dress, very nice this, very nice that. Then it's clear your goal is to please Krishna in this lifetime, right? And everything you do is based on how to please Krishna. You know, the way you clean the house, the way you cook, the way you speak, the way you relate to people. It's all based on how to please Krishna. So then Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance. All these good things you did, it was to please Krishna. And you learned how to please Krishna. Right. So then you understand he's the ultimate enjoyer, he's the ultimate owner of everything, or proprietor of everything, and he's the best friend. Then you have real peace. Okay, most people are confused. They say, well, I'll go to the temple, I'll put, $1 in the thingy box, But you're not really thinking that Krishna is the real enjoyer, You're still acting as if you're the enjoyer. But you're giving some token, something to Krishna, but it's not really wholeheartedly. Right? So therefore, you will always have troubles in life, because you're not convinced that Krishna is the real enjoyer. You're still thinking, I am the enjoyer. So when we think I am the enjoyer, and whatever we do, we're responsible for it, for the good or bad results. But usually there's always trouble in one's life. You understand? Like that. To understand that Krishna is the only enjoyer, that's a big, big realization in one's life. All of us, birth after birth, we act as if we are the enjoyer. And that's what gets us in trouble. And just imagine you live in a society where everyone thinks that he or she is the enjoyer. Well, it's highly competitive, and it's like a jungle, right? Survival of the fittest. So that's not a very nice society to live in. Everyone's always competing. And they want to be the enjoyer, they want to exploit everyone else for their own enjoyment. But when you live in a society where everyone's convinced that Krishna is the enjoyer, then it becomes very nice, because there's no more of this disloyal competition. Everyone's only concern is that Krishna be the enjoyer. So if one person pleases Krishna, you're happy. If you please Krishna, they're happy. So, and there's no more of that, vicious competition. There's a competition to please Krishna, but there's no viciousness involved, because if someone else pleases Krishna, you're happy, because that's your goal. Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results. When one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, then that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestation, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Right. Go ahead. Next. Therefore, if one is not.
Disturbance? Is that right? Yeah.
Okay, disturbance.
The disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer,
Proprietor
and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna certainly always in distress and without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in the relationship of Krishna
with Krishna.
with Krishna.
Yeah, so you see this verse says that if someone is not connected to Krishna, then they cannot have transcendental intelligence or a steady mind. And without a steady mind, there's no question of peace, and it's not possible to be happy without peace. So everything depends on being connected to Krishna. And you connect through bhakti yoga, through devotional service, that's under the instruction of bona fide Vaishnavas. Otherwise, the mind will always be disturbed. And you can never really have peace when you have a disturbed mind. Okay, so now everyone in material life is anxious to attain peace of mind. This is not possible as long as the mind is plagued by lust, anger, and greed. One tries to satisfy lust, and when there is frustration at not being able to do so, anger and greed become prominent. Lust, anger, and greed become the dictators of nasty thoughts and perverted desires, leading to destructive behavior. When one is under the cloud of illusion, he tries to be the master of material possessions and people. With this mentality of domination of nature, he becomes entangled hopelessly in the exhaustive grip of material nature and its law of karma, action and reaction for every act, either good or bad, that forces one to act again in a cycle of suffering. Since Lord Krishna, God, is the owner and enjoyer of all material things and people, he is the supreme dominator, controller, and owner. If a person refuses to accept this fact, he becomes a thief who tries to usurp the property of God, and he suffers. Lord Krishna explains this to Arjuna, 3rd chapter, 12th verse. Take a look at that. Istan boga hivo deva dasyante yagyabhavita tardatan apradaya bo yo bhunte stena evasa. 3rd chapter, 12th verse.
First chapter.
In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigod, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So we should always understand that our life depends on Krishna and his agents, the demigods. They control the wind, the rain, the sun, the currents, the beating of the heart, digestion. All these things are controlled by the devas. So, therefore, we should perform Harinam Sankirtan Yajna to please Krishna. And if Krishna is pleased, all the devatas are pleased. You don't have to try and please each one separately. And then we become real devotees because everything is meant to please Krishna. We chant to please Krishna, we dance to please Krishna, we cook to please Krishna, we make flowers to please Krishna, flower garlands. We do everything to please Krishna, and if Krishna is pleased, all the demigods are pleased. And that way, we don't become a thief. A thief is someone who takes something that belongs to someone else without permission, and they get into trouble. So, all these things that are being supplied, the sun, the rain, the wind, digestion, the food, the seeds, all these things are being supplied by Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the first enjoyer. Before we eat, we offer first to Krishna. Before we do anything, we first take Krishna's blessing, and we do it. So, the demigods are the supply agents of Lord Krishna. They cannot give any material benediction without first receiving it from the Lord, who is the supreme proprietor and Maheshwara of nature. If one takes another's property without receiving permission and without any thanksgiving, he is an ungrateful thief. By the laws of nature, karma, established by Lord Krishna, he will suffer. A thief is always anxious that he not be caught and punished. He can never have real peace of mind. So we see most people are thieves. They're not recognizing that Krishna is the enjoyer of everything. And because of that, unwittingly, out of ignorance, they get trapped by the laws of material nature. And they suffer. Just look what's happening now. In North Carolina, this hurricane threw like 1 trillion tons of rain on a certain area of North Carolina. Now all the rivers have swollen and they're peaking, meaning they go above their embankments, and then they're flooding. Right? People are losing their houses. Now the hurricane came and went, right? But the trouble has not ended. The trouble has just started for the people, because all the rivers now are flooding. And they had to evacuate for the hurricane. Now they have to evacuate because of the floodings. And already there are many homes that were ruined by the hurricane. Now there's a second ruination taking place. Whatever they saved, they're also losing that now. You just imagine the trouble they're having. Right? And that's in the United States. It's here, just on the other side of the country. Now, why are there not hurricanes like that here? Because the ocean water is colder here. When the ocean water is 80 degrees, you have hurricanes. So the whole East Coast, from the Caribbean all the way up to New England, in the summertime they have hurricanes because of the heat of the ocean. Here, the temperature of the ocean, Pacific Ocean, from Mexico right up to Canada, doesn't go above 50 degrees. So if you go swimming on the beach in Miami, it's very warm. Or the Gulf Coast, it's very warm. If you go swimming here at Alki Beach, or you go swimming in San Diego, it's freezing cold. Is that right? Right? Because of that temperature of the ocean, you never have a hurricane here. You might have some bad rainstorms, but never, some storms that come in on the Pacific, sometimes they're like a Category 1, maximum Category 2 hurricane. They don't call them hurricanes. They're not. But they're getting Category 5 hurricanes on the East Coast. Those are highly destructive, like what we're seeing now. So we're lucky living here. But why is it? Because it's all being controlled by the demigods. The ocean water here is much colder than it is on the East Coast. Yes.
When it gets hot, like 85 degrees, how does it just make a hurricane?
No, it's not the question of getting hot. It's the question of the ocean being hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets 85 degrees here, but the ocean still stays.
But if the ocean is 85 degrees, how does a hurricane happen?
Oh, you want to know how it happens? Well, you see, when the ocean water is 85 degrees and the sun is 90 or 100 degrees, then there's a lot more evaporation, a lot more water going up to clouds, right? And then that causes these very heavy clouds. And then because of change of to the other things too, like for example, when you have a difference between one area that's cold and one area that's warm, then the wind is produced. And it pushes these clouds, right? And then when there's again a change of temperature, the water that's held in suspension in these clouds, the droplets become bigger and then it falls down. When the droplets are, there's no drops, but it's spread out very, very finely. Even though there's so much water, but it's spread out very finely, then it floats. But as soon as bigger drops are formed, because of changes of pressure, it rains. So you have the bigger changes of pressure on the east coast of the United States than you do here. Therefore, first of all, they're bigger, heavier clouds, and secondly, there are more swings in the pressure, and then you have these terrible storms. Really, like for example, in India, you have the monsoon season. Right? It's usually at the end of the hot season, right? Yeah, when the water is really, the ocean water is right. Is the ocean water warm in India? In the Andaman? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, it's not like here. You go to the ocean. Here, it's cold.
Even in the summer, it's very cold.
Yeah, even in summer, it's very cold, and it doesn't matter. Even in San Diego, it's cold. It's just something about it's all being controlled by the devas.
And in Odisha, we always get this hurricane.
What?
In Odisha, we always get these hurricanes.
Yeah, but it's hot.
Coastal area, yeah.
But is the water hot in Odia?
It's
Jagannath.
compared to this, it's definitely
Yeah,
warm.
that's why you're getting a hurricane, because of the hot water. Because you get the hot water, hot sun, and it evaporates. You get huge clouds, tons and tons of water, and then it changes the pressure and it falls down. Just like a crash, really hard rain, and huge amounts, like trillions of tons of water fell in North Carolina in like 2 days. That's why all the rivers are swollen now, and they're cresting. They're coming up above the level of the embankment, so they're flooding everywhere. And once it floods like that, you can't do anything. You're stuck. Okay, so the demigods are the supply agents of Lord Krishna. They cannot give any material benediction without first receiving it from the Lord, who is the supreme proprietor, Maheshwara of nature. He's controlling nature. If one takes another's property without receiving permission and without any thanksgiving, he is an ungrateful thief. By the laws of nature, karma, established by Lord Krishna, he will suffer. A thief is always anxious that he not be caught and punished. He can never have real peace of mind. Lord Krishna gives the ultimate peace formula in Bhagavad Gita 5:29 for all mankind by the acceptance of 3 principles of truth. Well, we already read them in the purport we just read, but if you go to 5:29, which is called the peace formula. Truth number 1. Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Muktaram yagatapasam. Also Krishna says,
29.
he says that Yat karosi yadasnasi yat johosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kunti yat tat kurusva madapana. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give, whatever you offer, whatever charity you perform, and whatever tapasya you do it as an offering for me. Subha subha phale evam moksyasi karma bandhana sanyasya yoga yukta atma vivukto mam upaisasi. If you do this, then everything subha and asubha, auspicious and inauspicious, subha subha phale evam moksyasi karma bandhana. You're free of all good and bad results, and you're free of the karma band, the entanglement by good and bad results of karma. Sanyasya yoga yutatma, by this principle of renunciation, that is, everything belongs to Krishna, therefore he's the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Sanyasya yoga yutatma, vimukto mam upaisyasi. You'll definitely be liberated from all good and bad results in life, and you'll come back to Krishna. So that's the 9th chapter. So here we see that accepting that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerity, just like now they're doing Ganapati puja, right? And then I think today was Ganapati Visarjan. They throw Ganapati away. They worship him for 8 days, then they throw him away. So they buy these cheap Ganapati statues in Mayuri, all these stores, right? And then they do some hocus pocus worship for 10 days or 8 days, and they fast a little bit. They come to the farm and get some cow dung and cow urine also. They feed the cow and so forth. But, these are pious activities. And then when it's all over, Ganapati Visarjan, they go leave Ganapati at the temple. And like tomorrow we'll see people coming just quietly and just leave Ganapati in the corner. Right? Right. Or they go down the ocean and throw him in the ocean. Bombay, they throw him in the ocean. Right? By the way, that is not a Vedic tradition. That was started 150 years ago in Mumbai by
Tilak.
Pune. Yeah.
Bal Gangadhar Tilak.
What's his name? Yeah.
Bal Gangadhar Tilak.
Yeah, Mr. Tilak. Bal Gangadhar. He's a nonsense, by the way. He's a complete nonsense. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
So he didn't do it for the worship part. He wanted to gather people because gathering of people more than 4 or 5 was banned by Britishers. But for religious purpose, it was okay. So he disguised that festival to conduct meetings.
Yeah.
And it just took off in other direction. Now it is like competition, who can do bigger, better.
It's all nonsense.
Yeah.
In Bombay, it is bigger competition. Now they make like 30, 40, 50 feet long, big statue of Ganesh. In Bombay, it's like very commercialized.
Then they throw him, or they burn him. What do they do?
They put
I don't know.
they do visurgin in ocean
Anyway.
or
I
local
think-
pond, and the next day people will come like government municipal thing. They will
Yeah.
just come.
Take him away.
Next day, everything from the ocean comes out on the beach.
Beach.
So it will be like broken everything. So they do the cleanup.
Yeah.
And
They put it in junkyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that sound right? You invite Ganapati, then you throw him in the junkyard. See, the whole thing is just, it's concocted. It's nonsense. It's not a traditional Vedic thing. And obviously it had a political motive behind it.
Yeah.
But then people think, oh, this is, I'm doing puja.
So it was like for public. Now
Yeah.
people do it home as well. So even at home, you invite at home was not the tradition.
Yeah.
People used to do it like in a public.
See, what's wrong is the Visarjan part.
Yeah.
If you invite Ganapati and then you just throw him away after 8 days, does that make sense? You never throw a deity away. It's actually aparad to do such a thing. But Mr. Tilak, what's his name? Baal what?
Bal, it's like Gangadhar, somebody who holds Ganga.
Yeah.
So it's like Shiva thing.
Like Lord Shiva.
Yeah, Gangadhar Tilak.
Baal Gangadhar Tilak.
But Prabhuji, before they're doing that, like it is a Murmaya Murti, means like it is made up of clay.
Yeah.
And so they do the Jivanyasa, means like with the whatever mantra, like at least for Durga Puja, that's what they do. They do the Jivanyasa, so like up until then, it's just a clay, and with that mantra and puja, whatever they do, after that the Jivanyasa is given, means like it will have life. And then you do the offering. And once all this is done, then this
Take the
with
life
the
back.
mantra, they pray that now you leave this clay, and then it's not like once the power is off from this clay, then it's just a clay now. in no more dating.
Yeah, but
That's what the
it's not bona fide. Do we do Visarjan for Radha Krishna? Do we do for Jagannath?
Jagannath, Navakalabara is there. Navakalabara is like a daru. There is particular time when 2 Bhadrava Masa is there in 1 year. That's when that Navakalabara happens. So Brahma is shifted from one daru to another, and they are cremated actually.
Yeah, but anyway, it's not a bona fide thing, the Visarjan.
It feels sad though, like when I say that I feel sad, like
Yeah, after
Visarjan
worshipping,
happens.
you throw them out. Yeah. Okay, so one should accept that Lord Krishna or God is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices. The material creation has a beginning and an end, and it continues eternally in a cycle of appearance, maintenance, and disappearance. The Lord says, Prakritim swamavastabhya vishrujami punah punah bhutagramam imam krishnam avasam prakritirvasa. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So in other words, everything belongs to Krishna. He creates it, he maintains it, he destroys it. Okay. Actually, material nature cannot be destroyed, but it's wound up. Just like a spider uses its saliva to make a web, an intricate web. But then it can swallow that web, and then it disappears back into the body of the spider because it's just his saliva. I mean, he can do it if he wants to. I don't know if they always do it, but it's just his saliva. Okay. So Krishna can expand material nature, and then in his form as Mahavishnu, he can absorb it also. Similarly, the living entities also are manifest during the creation and then become unmanifest when the material nature is absorbed into the transcendental body of the Lord, awaiting the next manifestation. Thus, the material energy is eternal. It exists in 2 states, manifest, vyakta, and unmanifest, avyakta. The living entities are also eternal, but the temporary bodies are subject to death. The Lord says, Bhutagramam sa evayam bhutva bhutva palita ratri agame vasa partha prabhavati ahar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. This is 8:19. When the material creation manifests at a new cycle of time where Krishna sends forth living entities and demigods and gives them sacrifices, yagyas, to perform for their material and spiritual welfare. So we see that this cycle is going on of creation, maintenance, and destruction. And it's all controlled by Krishna. Now, why is there a material creation? It's to satisfy the desires, the perverted desires of living entities that have revolted against Krishna, who want to pretend that they can be like a Krishna. But when people come to their senses and they begin to act with the understanding that Krishna is the enjoyer, I am not the enjoyer, at that point they can become liberated and go back to Godhead and no longer be part of this vicious cycle. So, we have to realize that this it's called in Sanskrit Janma Mityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosana Darshanam. One must realize the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. There's something wrong with it. We should not take it for granted that it's normal. It's not normal. And nobody likes it. But it's being forced on us. So this is the real problem of life. We should stop this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And if we don't stop it, then we remain in ignorance and we unnecessarily suffer. And we have mental problems and money problems and family problems and political problems and war and pestilence and earthquakes and so forth. So all these things are unnecessary. But we have to understand how to get out of this terrible situation. So therefore it says, Saha yagya praja sristva puravacha prajapati anenya prasavistvadmam esavo srista kama. Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures, Lord Vishnu, sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. So 3rd chapter, 10th verse. So, this material creation is a chance for us to become liberated again. We decided to leave Krishna, but Krishna is giving us a chance to come back to him. So, if we get fooled by modern education and think that the goal of life is sense gratification, and in order to have more sense gratification you need more money, and then we become addicted to being comfortable, overeating, oversleeping, overmating, and defending, then we get entangled, and we can't figure out what is the real purpose of life. Real purpose of life is to perform simple austerities for purification and developing higher intelligence, so that we can please Krishna through all our actions in this life, and then therefore be able to remember Krishna always and go back to Godhead. And in order to make it easy for ourselves, Krishna gives us a system of sacrifice. So in Kali Yuga, that sacrifice is Harinam Sankirtan. Very easy to perform. You know, just sit down and chant Hare Krishna and go out and chant in the streets, distribute prasadam, distribute books, talk to people like that. And therefore Lord Krishna established a material creation to help those souls who have revolted against him, to give them a chance to rehabilitate themselves and come back again to the spiritual world. He gave them a chance to try and enjoy separate from him by exploiting material nature, knowing well that his material energy is impossible to overcome by any human efforts. Thus, frustration and defeat are inevitable for all living entities by the natural course of birth, old age, disease, and death, which are inescapable phases of the material body. In other words, no one will succeed at sense gratification. No one will succeed at living eternally, no matter what methods of science that they undertake. Everyone is going to be defeated by birth, old age, disease, and death. And therefore, frustration and defeat are inevitable for everyone. So therefore, we should understand what is the purpose of the material creation. It's to give us a chance to go back to Godhead. Right? That's the purpose. It's not we will, conquer old age, disease, and death. No, you're never going to conquer it.
So, Prabhuji, what is the reason behind 84 million species of life?
What?
8.4 million species of
It
life.
means that, look, why are there so many different cars? Why are there, you go to Safeway, KFC, there's so many different foods, right? Why are there so many different places you can take a vacation? Why are there so many different stocks that you can buy? Why are there so many different types of candy, of ice cream? Right. So everybody has different desires. That's why, you have a big meat section with hundreds of different meats. Now, you don't eat meat, so you're not interested in that. But obviously, they wouldn't have such a big meat section unless there were a lot of people interested. And there's a lot of different meats. There's pig, there's chicken, there's fish, there's cow, there's sheep, and there are, well, if you go to China, there's dogs, there's cats, there's cockroaches. Their meat section is bigger than in America. So, there's this huge variety, right? Now, why is there so much variety? They serve you liver, they serve you ribs, they serve you tongue, they serve you ears, they serve you, different parts of the body of the cow, and then they have horse meat. In France, they have horse meat, and in Florida, they have alligator meat. I'm not kidding you. They have alligator meat. It's a delicacy in the south of the United States, and then they have also rabbit. In France, they eat rabbits also. It's considered a delicacy, and they eat frogs in France. So why are there so many varieties? So the same way, people, there's 8,400,000 different species to accommodate the different desires people have. Some people like to eat underwater, so they become a fish. Some people like to eat up in the air, so they become a bird. Some people like to eat under the ground, so they become a worm.
So when you're saying people, it's like some soul has that desire,
Yes.
not people in the
Or they're getting punished for misbehaving. But there's different types of, like some people, like on University Avenue, there are people there that regularly look at every garbage can and pick things out of it and start eating it or drinking it. I don't know, you don't see that, but I walk down the avenue every Saturday and I distribute invitations for the truck. I see it regularly. Would you ever do that? Pick something out of the garbage can and start eating it or drinking it? Or they'll find a
But
cigarette.
because of the hunger, right? Because of the hunger, they are forced to do that.
And you say they're forced to do it. Not really. Not everyone. Yeah, some people might be forced to, but some people are not forced to. But would you do it even if you were hungry?
How do I know, Prabhuji, like a hunger when the real hunger, we haven't met with real hunger. Because we always get food, but we haven't seen hunger, how it feels like. When I do the fasting, I can't wait to I have to
Yeah,
eat,
but you don't eat
like,
out of a
those
garbage can when you're fasting.
No, but
So I mean, I see with my own eyes every week. I see people on the University Avenue. They're stopping at every garbage can, looking. And if they see some soda that's half finished, they'll take it out and start walking down the street and drinking it. Or they see a sandwich that's not completely eaten, or they see some French fries. Yeah, So everybody has different tastes. Like you go to the supermarket, there's a whole huge meat section, right? Well, obviously people are buying those meats. And then you go in front of the counter and there's all kinds of junk, candies and different things. People are buying them. They have cakes and ice creams and, pizza and all these different things.
no, my point is like if the whole objective is sense enjoyment, like in only one body you do the same enjoyment. Why Krishna created so many different type of bodies? Like
No, each body has a different type of enjoyment. Like for example, Mayapur was telling me today, somebody gave us a chicken, not a chicken, but a rooster, right? So now a rooster has made the farm its home, and it gets along with the cows also. But the other day, a hawk tried to catch the chicken. Hawks, they're big birds. Their wings go out 6 to 8 feet. They're flying around all the time. And there's eagles also. So the chicken is very smart. The eagle came down, just missed it by like a few inches, and the chicken ran into the bushes where the eagle can't go, or where the hawk can't go. It got away, but it almost got caught. The Mayapur saw it. So, see, the hawks, they eat chicken. They eat rabbits. They eat rats. The owls eat rats and all kinds of things that move around at night. So they're all living entities. They all have a certain taste.
Cow will never eat a rabbit.
No, cow will never eat a rabbit. No. Cows just eat hay and grass. They're very gentle.
The taste is not there.
So, like for example, every year in Florida, there's this one store. It's a reptile store. They sell reptiles, like snakes and alligators and things like that. So once a year they have cockroach eating contest.
What?
I'm not kidding you. They have a cockroach eating contest. This is in Florida, in the United States, and I think it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago. This one guy won the contest, and right after that he died. He ate more cockroaches than anyone else, and he died. So they have contests in America. It's crazy. They have hamburger eating contest, hot dog eating contest. Indians have gulab eating contest, right? So in Florida is the worst place. I'd never like to live in Florida. Really low class people live there. They have cockroach eating contest. Would you try and enter that? But see, the people go there and they participate in the contest. So now you can understand, there's 8,400,000 species, and each one has a different way of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And some people, why are there so many cars? Like you have a small car, you have a medium car, you have a big car. Everybody has different capacity to buy a car and different tastes.
So every human being, before that, you must have gone through all these species of life for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you start by being Brahma and then you go down, and then you come back again. Yeah. You were once Brahma. Don't laugh, it's a fact. You start by being Brahman and then you go down, and then you come back up.
Big sinner.
Well, see, this thing is, only in the human form can you understand these things. You can't understand that. A dog can't understand. The cow can't understand. The rat can't understand. The cockroach cannot understand. But the human being can understand this and make a solution. Okay, so now it says, Lord Krishna established a material creation to help those souls who have revolted against him by giving a chance to rehabilitate themselves and come back again to the spiritual world. He gave them a chance to try and enjoy separate from him by exploiting the material nature, knowing well that his material energy is impossible to overcome by any human being. Thus, frustration and defeat are inevitable for all living entities by the natural course of birth, old age, disease, and death, which are inescapable phases of the material body. The Lord gave all living entities in human form a process to satisfy their material desires through a system of sacrifice to the demigods. However, he also instructed that such material enjoyment is not the purpose of human life. Whatever benefits they may achieve by the process of sacrifice are only to help them have an easier time in the material world to attain material needs so that they can concentrate more time for self-realization. So that's the whole purpose of this Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. It's to satisfy our material desires so that we have time to engage in Krishna consciousness. It's not the goal in and of itself. We have these perverted desires for so many lifetimes. So, okay, you can easily satisfy your material desires, but if you have a genuine teacher, then they'll teach you that this is not the real goal of Vedas. This is just so that you calm down and have an easier time in material life. And now you have extra time, so use that for Krishna consciousness. In the present age, most priests mislead people to think that attaining material benefits in this life and the next through Vedic sacrifices is the goal of life. So all these... this is true in Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and many other religions that engage in blessings for material benefits such as health, long life, prosperity, material happiness, salvation, and a heaven of sense gratification. Such materially inclined priests use the system of sacrifice to make a living, and therefore they encourage people to misuse the system for material benefit, thus ignoring the real purpose of life. So this is, you just go to the other temples, you'll see, this is what's happening. So they're doing archanas all day long. You walk in the temple anytime, the priest does archana. Give him $21, he does archana. What's your good trouble? Okay. Bharadwaj, blah, 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 blah. Okay, give me 21. It's a business. And people think this is the purpose of religion, is to get this blessing, so they do better, they make more money, they have more sense gratification, and maybe they can be elevated to higher planets with this better sense gratification. Okay, so you get the idea. We'll stop you on page 4 and we'll continue. So if we read now, second chapter, verse 68. Tasmat yasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvasaha indriyani indriyatebhyas tasya prajna pratisthita. Very important verse.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. This one.
So, it says, therefore, mighty one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. So, if we can control our mind and senses and not be attracted to accumulating a lot of junk objects in our life, and we use our time wisely to cultivate Krishna consciousness, then we'll have steady intelligence. So who wants to read this purport? Yes, sir.
Who wants to read?
268.
One can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness or engaging all the senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As enemies are curbed by the superior force and senses,
The senses.
the senses can similarly be curbed,
Curb meaning controlled.
not by any human
Endeavor.
endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in service of the Lord. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really
Established.
established in the intelligence, and the one should practice this art under the
Guidance.
guidance of bona fide spiritual master is called
Sadhaka.
sadhaka, or subtitle
Suitable
table
candidate.
candidate for liberation.
Liberation.
Yes, so we control the mind and senses by keeping them engaged always in Krishna consciousness. And then we develop this transcendental intelligence so that we can always be engaged in acts of devotional service and never fall into Maya. This is an art, actually. It's called Yoga Koshalam. Yoga Koshalam, the art of staying always engaged in Krishna's service, never be falling into Maya. So this is explained in second chapter, verse 50. Udiyukta jahatiha ube sukite duskrite. Tasmat yoga yujasva yoga karmasu koshalam. So koshalam means the art. It must be a Hindi word also, right?
Yeah, it's called
Yeah,
kaushal.
Kosha.
Partial.
So it comes from the Sanskrit koshalam. So yoga karma sukoshala means the art of Krishna consciousness in all activities. Or in other words, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So yoga means connection to Krishna. So this is an art form. That is, always being engaged in Krishna consciousness. So this says, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad actions, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Yoga meaning here, Krishna consciousness. So it's saying that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So we read that purport to 268, and here in 250 it says that by being engaged in devotional service all the time, one gets rid of both good and bad actions. Therefore, we should strive for yoga or Krishna consciousness, which is the art of all work. So how can we develop this art form that is working without material reactions, either good or bad? Well, that's Krishna consciousness. So, who's going to read that purport?
50.
Since time.
Purport. Since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action.
So, you see now the value of Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one to surrender unto Lord Shri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction. So, good karma and bad karma are both bad because we stay bound up in the cycle of birth and death. We have to keep coming back, birth after birth. So Krishna consciousness is the purifying process of purifying all reactions to our activities. There's no material reaction, only spiritual benefit. This is the value of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so tomorrow is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day. And Prabhupada says that he quotes a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, Parvatim cha nivritim cha jana na vidur asura na socham napi chacharu na satyam te subidite. So he says that Krishna is describing the symptoms of the demons. Pavritim cha nivritim cha. They don't know what to do, nor do they know what not to do. They don't know what is good, they don't know what is bad. They have no discrimination. And he says, Pavritim means inclination or inclined. and nivriti means discipline. So there are two things within this material world. Our inclination is to enjoy the senses. This is general. Everyone within this material world, even the animals, birds, beasts, human beings, are more elevated than human beings, the demigods, the kinnaras, or many other higher types of living entities. There are different grades of living entities, 8,400,000 different bodies. So what is their poverty? What is their inclination? The inclination is attraction of man and woman. This is the central point of attraction. Pumsa striya maituni bhava metad. The whole material is existing on this point. Sex, man and woman. So this is poverty marga and nivriti marga, just to stop it. This is called nivriti marga. So we are within this material world on account of this poverty, this inclination of sense enjoyment. Those who are inclined to sense enjoyment and do not care to know what is the aim of life, they are called asuras. And those who are trying to avoid the entanglement of this material world and revive the whole original life, or spiritual life. Whole original life means Krishna conscious life. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, our original consciousness is that I have got intimate relationship with Krishna as his part and parcel. That is Krishna consciousness. So my conception is the bodily conception, that I am this body. I am born in this country, therefore I belong to this nation. I belong to this community. I belong to this family. I belong to this species. This is called poverty marg, this inclination towards sense gratification through family, race, nation, etc. This is scientific division, poverty marga and nivriti marga. Why scientific? Because it is a fact. Science means fact. I am not this body, I am spirit soul. That is, just like a man suffering from some disease, so that is not his normal life to suffer for some disease. Normal life is to keep healthy life, no disease. That is normal life. So in order to keep to the normal life, we must know how to cure the disease. Just like when you have got fever, you go to the doctor. He says, he advises, you do this, and you do not do this. The do's and do nots means nivriti marg, and do this, poverty marg. If you are serious to cure your disease, then you must know what you should do and what you should not do. But just like a man, a very foolish man, he is suffering from disease, but he does not know how to cure the disease, what to do and what not to do. Similarly, an animal like man, a two-legged man, he does not know what to do and what not to do. This is explained here. Pavritim cha nivritim cha. So, we've traveled through those 8,400,000 species. In every one of them we tried to exploit nature for our own sense gratification. And we got entangled. That's why we went through all those species. It's only in the human form that we can escape from it, become liberated. So, but we have to know what to do and what not to do. So there are two types of people. There's the asuras and the daivas. The demons and the devotees. Daiva, asura, evacha. There are two all throughout the whole universe. There are two classes of men. One is called Daiva, and one is called Asura. One who knows his relationship with God, he is called Daiva. And one who does not know, just like animal, they are called Asura. There's no particular caste or creed that here is a caste of Asura, caste of Daiva. No. Anyone who knows what is God and his relationship with God through sambandha, relationship, and then works according to that relationship and achieve the goal of life, he is called Daiva or Devata. And one who does not know this, what is the goal of life, what is God, what is my relationship with God, he is Asura. So Krishna has described everything in the Bhagavad Gita, and today, this night, we are trying to explain the mission of Krishna, because the same mission is being carried out by us, beginning from Brahma, and today is a special day, the disappearance day of my Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. So these acharyas, they come and they go. That is not like ordinary birth and death. It is called prakrata, aprakrata, avirbhava, and tirobhava. So even ordinarily, nobody takes birth and nobody dies. Na jayate, na mriyate va kadachi. So what to speak of the acharyas or Bhagavan? Nobody. A living entity, a living being. God is the supreme living being, and we are subordinate living beings. Both of us. We are living beings. So what is the difference between the two kinds of living beings? The difference is that one, God or Krishna, he maintains all the other living beings. And we are being maintained. This is the difference. Eko yo bahunam vidadati kamam. The plural number of living entities, we are plural number in different species of life, but we are maintained by the Supreme Being. So this is our relationship. If we understand this relationship, Eko bahunam yo vidadati kamam, that is our real understanding. In other words, everything that we depend on to live is being supplied to us by Krishna. And we are eternal, Krishna is eternal, but he's the eternal maintainer of all other living entities, of all the other eternals. If we understand that, then he says, just like in your office or in the factory, there is a proprietor. He is maintaining so many workers, so many clerks. And what is your duty? To serve him. So similarly, if the Supreme Being, the Supreme Proprietor, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhuktaram yagitapasam, sarvalokam maheshwaram, suridam sarvabhutanam, gyatvam santi richati. He's the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices. He's the ultimate owner and controller of everything. He is the best friend. Knowing this, one attains real peace. If the factory man knows that he is not the proprietor, he is not the enjoyer of the profit, the enjoyer of the profit is the proprietor of the factory, and we are the worker, then there is peace. And if the workers fight among themselves that I am the proprietor, falsely then there is chaos. There is no production, just chaos. Similarly, if we fight ourselves amongst ourselves that I am proprietor of India, you're a proprietor of America, you're a proprietor of Germany, this is false conception of life. Real proprietor is Krishna. If we know this, Bhuktaram Yagatabasam, Krishna says, Bhukta, I am Bhukta, I am the enjoyer. Bhuktaram Yagatabasam, Sarvalokam Esram. I am the final proprietor or the supreme proprietor. That's a fact. Then there is peace. This is our relationship, that we are part and parcel. We are not non-important. The factory is going on, or the whole world is going on account of the living entities. Aparayamitas twan, itas tu vidime pakritim para. Krishna says that beyond this material energy, bhumirapo nalo vayu kam manu budreva chahankaraya tyame bina pakriti rasata. These 8 kinds of prakriti, they are my separated energy. But there is another kind of superior energy, yayadam daryate jagat, aparayam itas tu vidime pakritim. Just like, same example, in the factory there are ingredients and there are workers. So the ingredients are compared with the material energy, bhumirapo nalo vayu. They are also the property of the workers because they are living beings. Jiva bhuta mahabahu yayadam daryate jagat. Those who are working for development of this material world, the same example. So this is knowledge. We should understand that everything belonging to the Supreme Personality Godhead belongs to the Supreme Personality Godhead. Nothing is manufactured by us. So he is the proprietor. But because we are his sons, we have got the legal right to enjoy the property of the Father. That is all right. That is real communism. This is actual understanding of communism. Everything belongs to God. Just like the communists, they are thinking everything belongs to the state, and the citizens must work and enjoy. So our philosophy is the same. Only difference is that they are what is called ignorantly accepting the state as the proprietor. No, if they accept God as the proprietor, Krishna as the proprietor, then communism is very perfect. That is missing. That is missing. Actually, God is the proprietor. What is the state? That is artificial. The state, American state, or African state, Russian state, these are artificial. Actually, the land belongs to God. We claim this is India, this is Russia, this is America. That is the beginning of spiritual education, to understand this fact that everything belongs to God. So anyway, you see what he's saying here, that we can have peace only if we accept that Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices, Krishna is the best friend. Then we can have peace in our life. And if we work with that understanding, then we'll not only help ourselves, but we'll help many other people attain this ultimate peace and stop all this craziness that's going on today. So many countries, so many ethnicities, so many different languages, so many different customs. It's like I was talking to this one man who comes from Hawaii. He was saying, all my friends are dead. I said, really, why? He said, I don't know. I said, I'll tell you why. He said, why? They eat pig. He said, how you know? I said, I know. The Hawaiians, they like to roast a pig. The Samoans, those Polynesian people, they like roast pig. I said, yeah, we love this. Yeah. So they're eating pig all the time. They're roasting a big pig, and they all eat it. And they get these big bodies, and they die, heart attacks, and so many things. So, but if you tell them not to eat pig, they say, oh, you insulted my people. Pig is our national food. It's true, it's their national food. You know Samoans? No. They have these big bodies. There's a lot of them here in Seattle. They come from the Pacific Islands. Hawaii is one of the islands. And their national food is pig. Right? And a lot of them, they die of these heart attacks and all kinds of things because they're eating their horrible meat.
But in this case, I have this question: why God has given them this less intelligence to eat such animals? Not just in eating animals; they're torturing them to a great extent also. Like in India itself, the cows were they put them in a big truck. No care about one after they dump basically. They dump the live cows, put in their mouth, tie them up, and then take them 4 days, 4 to 5 days to keep them. No food at all is given to them, and then give them hot water bath, peel the skin out, and they're alive and they're taking this out, and then they collect the blood. And imagine this kind of torture. It's like when I read it, it's very disturbing to
In
me.
India?
Extremely, I can.
Not only India, everywhere.
So this kind of it's not. It doesn't qualify under intelligence. This ghastly form of things what they are trying to do the animals. Why this intelligence is so grossly missing in them? It's so natural to understand that
Well,
this is a torture.
it's due to bad association. Like, for example, I was born in a family of meat eaters. When I was young, my mother was giving me meat 3 times a day. If you told me not to eat meat, I would laugh. Right? But I was always sick when I was a kid. Right? And then I tried to figure out why I was always getting sick, and then I started reading things, and then I left home and lived, in Europe and other places, and I had to, cook for myself, and I finally realized, I was eating wrong. I was eating junk, and I stopped eating junk. And then I met Christian consciousness, and then that finished my understanding. I completely gave up eating meat. I had already given up eating meat before, but then when I met Krishna consciousness, I understood fully the difference between just food and prasadam. So it's a higher understanding. But yeah, I mean, it's due to bad association. You're born in a family that eat meat. Like if you're born a Samoan, your national food is pig. Okay? And you're born, like in Philadelphia, everybody eats. What do you call it? I forget the name now. No, I'm glad I forgot the name. Well, it's a type of a sausage. It's like horrible meat, right? But everybody eats it because it's the food of Philadelphia. Or Philadelphia is famous also for the cheese steak. cheese steak sandwich. It's horrible, but everybody eats it. Because you're born there in those families, and they teach you to do that. So you want to know why? It's due to bad association. Why do devotees want to associate with each other and not associate with materialistic people? Because they don't want to be exposed to all those misconceptions of diet, of lifestyle, and so forth. That's it. So do you want your son to associate with people who are meat eaters? No, eventually he'll eat meat. Because if he associates with those people, eventually because he sees them eating meat all the time, like it's okay. And finally he'll say, well, I mean, they're all eating meat, why shouldn't I eat meat? And they're telling me how good it is. That's it. So, everything depends on association. So you might be working with meat eaters, but you don't have to sit with them when they're eating meat in front of you. Right? Because that makes you think as if it might be okay. So that's why, we have temple, we have prasadam every night, every day, and we have festivals, but there's no meat. But does that mean you're suffering, you're not having a good time? No, we're having a better time. For those people that have a good time, they have to have meat and wine and beer and all these things, but we don't have any of that. So it's the association that counts. Now, if you're born in a family like that, okay, but even though I was born in a family like that, I eventually was lucky enough to meet devotees and associated with devotees. I gave up all those habits. Okay, we'll stop right there. So this is a very nice lecture by Prabhupada. He talks about the 8,400,000 species and so many
What book
things.
is that for?
This is called Festivals with Srila Prabhupada. These are lectures that he gave in different festivals like Ram Navami, Janmashtami, Vyasa Puja, Radhashtami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance today. Festivals with Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, association is the key to everything.
Probably one question. In verse 266, you have mentioned we do everything to please Krishna.
Yeah.
My question is, but most of the time we forget this principle.
Why?
Mostly
Why would you most of the time forget this?
because mostly when we are home, we forget this. Sometimes I remember like consciously, but many times I forget that while serving stalls or kids, that the purpose is we are doing everything to please Krishna. Like in a day-to-day activity, like sometimes it goes like so busy in that schedule that we forget that conscious effort that means. I am not able to phrase my question, but my question is sometimes it's like very consciously I am remembering, yes, I'm doing to please Krishna. But many times while doing like school work there or any regular activity, this consciousness goes like in somewhere in the side track. It's not like on the foreground. So how to keep this always like.
Whenever you feel as if you're going off track, start chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. You're taking shelter in the holy name. If you chant Hare Krishna, then you remember Krishna, then he's the real enjoyer, and you're not the enjoyer. But if you don't take shelter in the holy name, then you just go farther and farther away. You always should chant, whenever you feel as if something's going wrong, you should chant Hare Krishna. Double down, as they say in English. Wow. Double down. And then chant until you feel confident that you can remember Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hari Ram.
Ram Ram.
That's why the Mahamantra is Mahamantra, the great chant for deliverance in the age of Kali. You can chant anytime, anywhere. Some people think I shouldn't chant in the toilet. Why not? If you forget Krishna, you should chant. You see,
In case I'm not able to keep track of the chanting and everything, is it okay? I just like without the dates and all, I like I'm going from this place to that place to get a diaper, however it is. So I can still do my japa like that, or is it like offensive chanting?
it's not good japa. Japa is specifically on your beats. But you can chant going from point A to point B. But you shouldn't count that as 16 rounds. You want to do 16 rounds a day? Go to sleep early, wake up early.
I do my homework for one question. I do one question.
Let me
Come
hear.
here, come here.
It's question number one.
First read the question.
Question number one, explain what is Buddhi Yoga. And Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna conscious in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. Buddhi Yoga is a transcendental quality. Buddhi means intelligence and yoga means mystic activities. Buddhi Yoga is the same thing as Bhakti Yoga.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Have to go to sleep early, wake up early.
I think I've forgotten Prabhuji with kids like I have to wake up in the middle of night because they keep crying and the sleep is so disturbed.
What time do I go to sleep?
10:30.
Way too late. I should be in bed 8:30.
Prabhuji, we come to temple so often. 8:30 is a big temple time.
You don't come to the temple every day.
I used to put my kids like when they were really young, like till 7 years with Agastya by 8:30. At least they would sleep.
They don't take nap in the afternoon. Do you remember?
Yeah, they used to take and then it became less. And then 8:30 is when they will be in the bed. They will sleep maybe in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but they will be there by 8:30. But I have heard other people as well, like their kids, the parents sleep, but the kids would be awake because they don't want to sleep. So yeah, it depends, like kids to kids, definitely. And now also they want to be awake, but we tell them, this is the time, now it's sleep time, let's go.
As you keep on doing japa, Prabhuji, like gradually there is you yourself will realize how you are able to control the senses. Or but sidewise also you have to take additional effort to control your senses, or naturally it comes to you.
Look, it's not easy. But when you get very regulated, it's much easier. When you're unregulated, it's very hard. Very hard. Being regulated is very essential for controlling the mind and the senses. You can get regulated. then it becomes easy. Okay, let's talk about your grandmother. Was your grandmother regulated?
Yes, very much.
She was?
Nobody has ever seen her taking bath because she would wake up 3:30 and she never had a clock. She knows that a pohara hela, see pohara hela. Pohara wise, like pohara is like how, I don't know, with the star and everything, she will know what the time is. And because we are from Barahaji temple, like Baraha Avatari, so there is a temple Baraha Avatari in Odisha, Kendrapada district.
Varaha.
Baraha, yeah.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, they are the worshipper, like main Panda Baraha Avatar Puja. So they have to wake up on time every day, and then they go to the kunda, like Barahaji kunda is there, like Radha kunda, that kunda, that pond.
Take the bath in the
Yeah,
kunda.
yeah. They
Yeah.
would go there, take a bath.
3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
They go and like by 3:30 they will be like out of the house. They take bath. They go to the temple, do the Mangal Aarti, then come. I remember as a kid because I normally I had a very natural tendency to go to bed very early and wake up very early. By 4 o'clock in the morning I used to wake up. As a very small child also, I remember many times my cousins, they would shout at me in our maternal grandparents' house. She's the one who is causing so much disturbance by waking up so early. Because I would wake up early and I have to do something. And I didn't know what to do. I was just, little remembrance is there. I was waiting outside, brushing my teeth and everything, and my grandmother will come with a banana leaf with a banana with this. Yeah, she will take a Mangal Aarti prasad for them. Every single day, like whenever I have gone to grandparents' house. And I remember taking that because so I love banana for that particular reason because I have the memory with my grandmother.
No, that's not. So here you have an example of your grandma. You see? Why did I say that? I don't know your grandmother, right? But I just had a hunch that she was probably regulated.
She was exceptionally regulated too. Was it like it's like amazing control over what to eat. I have never seen her eat. She would always give.
More nectarine.
Never seen, no, okay.
Like chinapodo, like that's sweet delicacy made up of cakes. If somebody has got it, she will keep it. Like somebody will come and she has to give it. It's not like somebody is giving to me so that let me eat. She will never do that. Like that's how very giving. That I have seen in her.
Well, now you're explaining what Krishna consciousness is all about. That's why I tell you, if you're regulated, then it's easy to control the mind and the senses. If you're not regulated, it's very difficult.
So when you are regulating, you are saying that like daily routine of your work is regulated and then regulated principles which we talk about. That also.
Yeah.
इंग्लिश में क्या बोलते हैं?
Just follow your grandmother's example. You see, this is the original culture of India. It's nothing new. This is what people were doing naturally. And then modern life came, television, all these things, and broke it.
She would do like so many fasting, like Ekadasi fasting and Dwadasi also there's a Quran time. Like she has all these set up, and other than that also so many things. All because she's a Vishnu bhakt, so she does that kind of Vaishnava actually.
I was talking to this one Armenian man, and